Today, we unwrap the first gift in our holiday horror double feature, in which we celebrate the somewhat heartwarming, but mostly soulless corporate commercialization of the Hollywood season with this unapologetically cynical 1996 Christmas comedy starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad. The snow is falling, the reindeer are drinking, and toyless children are fated to hold lifelong grudges against their parents as we brave our way through overcrowded stores, festive underground crime syndicates, and criminal charges ranging anywhere from disturbing the peace and destruction of property to aggravated assault and even terrorism to meet Myron Larrabee, Dementor, dare we say, capitalism, and Brian Levant's Jingle All the Way.
You're listening to How I Met Your Monster, a podcast that explores the introductions to your favorite movie monsters. My name's Zach.
I'm Danny.
And I'm Casey.
And together we dive into the world of horror to find out how filmmakers have introduced us to our favorite monsters time and time again. This is How I Met Your Monster.
Boss, you opened it. We came.
I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left.
Explorers in the further regions of experience. Demons to some, angels to others.
Call you meatloaf!
Surprise, Sydney.
Welcome to How I Met Your Monster, the show where we discuss the introductions to your favorite movie monsters. Make sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform so that you never miss an episode. Today, we are celebrating the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And you may be wondering why we are covering a Arnold Schwarzenegger Christmas comedy on a horror movie podcast. But I will say that Arnold Schwarzenegger is no stranger to horror movies, to the horror genre. Mm-hmm. He battled one of the best monsters around.
Yeah.
Predator.
One of the great hunters in our universe.
Did you guys ever see Maggie?
No, but I know.
No, is that the zombie movie with...
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Arnold, and his daughter turned into a zombie, and he's got to decide if he wants to kill her or not.
All right.
Oh. Merry Christmas.
Jolly.
The twist is you find out before she turned into a zombie, he was already planning on killing her. So
Yeah.
he kills her. He's like, oh, this.
No, but you may be wondering why we're covering Jingle All the Way on a horror movie podcast. Well, there was a little poll on Instagram and our social media feeds, and Jingle All the Way was kind of a joke. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. Don't. You guys knew it was going to win. Danny, come on.
Yeah, I knew it was. I was like,
You guys
put
knew
this
it was
in there.
gonna
I
win.
voted for it twice.
Yeah, I saw. I was like Ben, and I saw it's Antrim. Ben's
my
little
production company.
Oh, yeah.
And
Cheater.
I was like, excuse
Cheater.
me. But I do that too. We have our Cottonmouth account, and every now and then
Yeah,
I'll
I
go in
know.
and I'm like, whoop. Give it a little extra boost.
There's nothing more frightening than the 90s and capitalism. So this seemed like
Yes.
No,
That is true.
so that's the thing. It's like it accidentally became the best movie we could have covered for this episode.
Yes.
So I had just seen the movie Thanksgiving, and part of it is about Black Friday, a little bit. So as I was leaving the movie and I was texting with the boys and we were talking about what movies
Hot
we can
dogs.
cover, I jokingly said Jingle All the Way because I was thinking about capitalism and consumerism, and I was kidding, and they were like, no, we should put it on there, and now we're here.
That's a great impression of them. Spot on. By the way.
And we had already done Krampus last year, so this was the natural alternative.
So if you are a repeat listener of the show, you may be wondering who this strange voice is that is not
Strange.
Danny, Zach, or Casey.
Oh my God, there's another person here. It's a Christmas miracle.
So this is a perfect time to introduce our wonderful guest, Ben Davis. Thank you for returning to the show.
Thank you for having me. Always love being here. Thank you, guys.
You joined us for our, was it Red State?
Yeah.
Yes.
We did Red
Yeah.
State?
Yeah.
Which is, this is a far cry from from Red State.
Is it? I don't know. Yeah.
Opposite ends of the
We'll
spectrum.
find the connector threads by the end of this episode.
I'm sure you guys will.
To Katie, to Katie. Oh my God.
Excuse
To
me.
Casey.
Excuse the fuck out of me. Who is Katie?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Jesus.
That's our other guest. Yeah.
I don't even know a fucking Katie.
No, I was going to say to Casey's chagrin, because Casey's not a big fan of our little detours into conspiracy theories.
It's all right. I let you
That's
boys
true.
have your fun.
Thank you.
That's true. So before we get into this episode, we do have some business to take care of. Number one, if you want to support the show and you want some great horror content, there's no better way than Fangoria. Visit shop.fangoria.com/howimetyourmonster. Enter promo code howimetyourmonster at checkout and receive 20% off your whole cart. And you can even throw a yearly subscription in there, which makes for a pretty good deal if you don't already have a subscription to Fangoria, which is kind of crazy. So get on that. And you will also help support How I Met Your Monster in the process.
Yeah, and if you're a rebel and you don't want to support us, but you have that rebellious nature, then fight the urge to help us by helping us, because you're rebelling against what we're requesting and therefore helping us. So
and
it's
since
win-win.
This episode, since the monster in our episode today is capitalism and consumerism, there's no better way to rebel than
Spend all your money.
spend all your money at shop.fangoria.com/howimetyourmonster.
Fight the
That's
man and
That's
rebel against your instinct to fight them by helping them.
Yeah.
In turn,
Exactly.
feeding
Yep.
corporate America.
This makes so
Exactly.
much sense. I get it.
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. This is what the show's all about.
Well,
If you go deep enough, you can just confuse everyone, and then everyone wins.
Yeah.
If you don't think hard enough
And
about
on to our second order of business. Ben, our featured guest today, has a wonderful short film now available on Omeletto. Is that
That's right. Yeah.
is that how you say it?
Omeletto.
Omeletto? The Jellyfish Man,
Yeah.
it. So good.
which you can watch for free, I believe, right?
You can watch it for free on Omeletto currently. Yeah. We released it last week. It's a holiday satire about the suburbs. So not that dissimilar, I guess, from Jingle All the Way.
No,
Right?
it's really not.
In being that it's a holiday satire. But there you go.
It's funny
Yeah.
because I had seen you talking about this short and just posting things online and in kind of anticipation of the release. And I didn't realize, I don't know if I just wasn't paying close enough attention. I didn't realize it was like a holiday short. So when you were releasing, I was like, oh, that's a good time to release it. You know, I was like, oh no, that is like literally the perfect time to release it because it actually is relevant to the season. So that was a nice little surprise, I guess, when I put it on.
Yeah, I was excited that we could release it at this time of year. When we shot it, it was not written to be a holiday movie, but it was taking place around the holidays, and the house that we shot at had just fully decked out their house in Christmas stuff. And we were talking about the suburbs, so it made sense to make it to just lean in. And then we had a lot of fun with the score. I'm a massive Die Hard fan. I'm wearing the shirt of the first henchman who's killed in Die Hard. And so it was a dream to use Ode to Joy as the score. So all the Christmas stuff really worked for me. And I was delighted that we could just lean into it. But thrilled to be releasing it at this time of year. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I watched it and it goes somewhere where you probably wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little synopsis of like what the story's all about?
Yeah. So basically, it kind of came about because we were trying to make a movie with those two actors. I was working with one of them and the other one was working behind the scenes and saw Adam, who plays Spencer, saw Gregory and was like, I want to work with him, who plays Kincaid. So we started to come up with roles that would be interesting for the two of them to play. And Adam was on Fuller House and he played this kind of dumb neighbor who was Kimmy Gibbler's brother. So he wanted to play someone very self-serious instead. And then the perfect opposition to that was this very sweet, earnest neighbor who doesn't know that he's bothering this very
that
uptight.
he's infuriating. Yeah.
And growing up in the suburbs, the three of us all grew up in the North Dallas suburbs, where everything kind of looks the same and everyone's afraid of nothing, basically.
Sure.
And so we kind of wanted to play on those ideas of like, maybe the thing that you should actually be afraid of is your own reaction to things and not necessarily what you don't understand that lives next door. So that's a long-winded answer, but the synopsis is basically just this guy who is a real type A yuppie type of dude who is all about control, has a young baby, and his neighbor is playing Christmas music all night, but hoping that he enjoys it, and he doesn't, and it starts this feud between them that kind of lasts throughout the night. And the tagline is, Spencer's neighbor won't turn off his music, but it's unclear who's disturbing the peace. And that sort of sums up everything. We wanted to talk about mental health and about projection and a lot of stuff, but do it in a really funny sort of what about Bob way. So
that's a great comparison. Yep.
Yeah. So that's the Jellyfish Man. If you like really weird, bizarre sort of cult sci-fi comedy stuff, then check it out.
And that's the thing too, is
absolutely. Highly recommended.
You said it's weird, and it is weird, but it's like the weirdness is warranted for the story. Like it all makes sense. It all like plays into the weird. Like there is like it's very fun. It's not like random weird. Like you see some like art house movie where it's like we're just being weird for weirdness sake.
We kind of talked about it as being like a suburban fairy tale.
That's great.
And so
Awesome.
Perfect. Yeah, really enjoyed it, Ben. That was a lot of fun.
All right. Well, check out the Jellyfish Man on Omeletto for free, and enjoy that little festive short. Okay. Jingle All the Way.
Yes,
if you're not familiar with Jingle All the Way, here is a brief synopsis via IMDb. A father vows to get his son a Turbo Man action figure for Christmas. However, every store is sold out, and he must travel all over town and compete with everybody else in order to find one. Great synopsis for I'm going to say, quote unquote, great movie. But what might be even better is the tagline for Jingle All the Way. Some of you who grew up in the 90s were kind of teenagers in the early 2000s will probably think of something when I mention this tagline. Here's the tagline.
Okay.
2 dads, 1 toy. No prisoners.
Okay. 2 girls, 1 cup. Just say it.
Yeah.
All prisoners.
We're good.
Okay.
All prisoners.
All prisoners. Well, now that I'm fully flushed, we can continue.
That's how the movie ends, right? Where Schwarzenegger and Sinbad have a 2 girls, 1 cup sort of scenario.
Put that dirty cup down. Now you'll get a tummy ache.
That's the post-credit scene.
Yeah.
They're setting up for the second one.
There is a post-credit scene, which I would have never known had Ben not warned me, told me about, / warned me.
Well, Danny, thanks for telling me, because I don't know if I watched it or not.
I've seen this movie so many times that I knew there was a post-credit scene.
I definitely shut it off as soon as the credits started rolling.
They thought they were so sure it was going to be a hit that they were already planning the sequel.
And in the movie's defense, I will say, we could talk about it now, but we'll get to it. I will say, in its defense, the little button at the end of this movie after the credits, whereas this is not to like shit on Marvel movies. God knows they're doing fine. Where sometimes there's kind of like a running joke in Marvel movies. At the time of this recording, maybe not as well as they were last year. Whereas like there's kind of like a running joke of like you wait for like 10 minutes of credits just for someone to like walk through a door and like introduce themselves as someone you've never heard before. This one I have to actually give it credit that they actually do set something up that is that does feel like the natural next step of the movie where she's Should we get to it? Should we spoil this?
I think it's safe to
almost
spoil it.
30-year-old movie. So the movie's obviously about Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's desperately at last minute Christmas Eve needs to find a toy that is impossible to find because everyone wants it.
Because he's a fucking terrible father.
Yeah, he's a terrible father. Is he though? We'll get to that.
Yeah, he is.
We're gonna get to that. But
Okay.
and then in the post credit, he finally obviously spoiler alert, he gets the toy, and then in the end, Arnold Schwarzenegger's wife, she says, thanks for doing all this, and then she says, now what did you get for me? And then, like Ben said, we set up a sequel that never came. Well, a sequel did come, but it wasn't this one.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah.
So yeah. But
yeah, it's great.
Well, all right,
Yeah.
Episode's over. Good job, guys.
yeah, we did it. Wow, we just raced
I really
to
just
the
wanted
end.
to talk about the post-credit scene. So yeah. I got such a kick out of figuring out there was a post-credit scene to Jingle All the Way. And then when I saw what it was, that they were already setting up a sequel, I was just like, oh, this is a perfect 90s Hollywood. It's incredible.
Well, in a movie
It's
so
good.
cynical, to have to end on such a hopeful button is almost sad. Sadder.
It's like crash zoom that we end on Arnold's face, wondering what he's going to do in the sequel. And it's just incredible. It's just so good.
In the sequel, being replaced by Larry the Cable Guy.
That's right.
It's a really different character, but
Yeah.
Larry the Cable Guy plays Larry in Jingle All the Way too. So that's not a stretch.
This movie stars Arnold in Sinbad, and is a family comedy that cost $75 million to make.
Oh my gosh.
Would never happen today.
No.
Just would never happen.
Yeah.
And it opened on 5,000 screens or something like that. Like, it's nuts. The business has changed so much in 20 years. And the fact that, or now almost 30 years, the fact that this is what it is just insane. Like, I can't, I looked up the budget and my jaw hit the floor. Like, it is such a product of its time. It's so crazy.
Was this the first time you had seen this, Ben?
No, I saw it as a kid. I hadn't seen it in years, and it was so much worse than I remember.
Yeah, same. Yep, same. I liked it when I was a kid.
Yeah, I still enjoyed myself with it, but only because of a ironic meta time capsule thing. It's a bad movie.
Yeah. There's the nostalgia factor. Did that? Because Casey, I'm guessing you were not a fan of the movie
this time around.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. My follow up was gonna be, does nostalgia have any play into how your viewing experience?
It was fun. I enjoyed it. There was a lot that I was like, "What the fuck?" Like that's so stupid. But it was fine.
Yeah.
It's hard to kind of let go of the nostalgia stuff, but it's also hard to overlook the genuine absurdities in this movie, like criminal behavior.
Yes, it's not getting any. He fucking almost burnt Phil Hartman's house down. There was the reindeer. He was stealing the toys. There was no repercussions whatsoever. And it's not like he was fucking mattress salesman. It's not like he was some really high-powered fucking falutin with
Casey,
good lawyers.
You left out the bomb scene.
The bomb.
There's a fucking bomb.
The bomb.
There's a terrorist sequence in this movie.
There's a whole this is
or the child predator scene.
Yeah.
So Casey, when you listed all those things, there are so many moments and impressions that I just want to throw out. Be like, I'm not the pervert. I just was looking for a Turbo Man doll.
That's the best line of the movie.
Or so definitely watching this now, my new favorite part of this movie is Phil Hartman.
Oh, me too.
He's amazing.
100%. Yes.
It's funny how as kids he's so despicable, but as adults we're like, oh, it's Phil Hartman. He's owning
and he's
every scene that he's
a
in.
Genius.
Yeah, he is.
Oh my god. And
he's hilarious.
His line delivery and his facial expressions that I never picked up on before during the karate scene at the beginning when he's in the thing and all the wives are baking him goods
and they want his help. And
what is it about? Why are they so drawn to him? Is it because he's sort of the bachelor who's kind of does everything?
Yeah, I think it's like another 90s trope, right? He's like all the dads in the neighborhood are like Homer Simpsons. They're like kind of useless dudes who can't do anything. And he is this like, you know, sweet facing guy who can listen to their feelings and fix, you know, the pipes in the kitchen and all these other shit. So I think it's just that sort of a flip. They're playing on those tropes that the 90s played on. He's the Archie Bunker. Yeah. He's the opposite of Archie Bunker or Homer Simpson.
Yeah, he's
or
like
whatever.
a closet narcissist, though. And he's just really kind of good at hiding. He's good at hiding it until he tries to like pursue something. But when he's being pursued, he looks...
is in love with Rita Wilson for some reason. We never really know
that's the thing about this movie. One issue that I have with this movie is there isn't a ton of motivation for a lot of things, which maybe is fine. Maybe it's a kid's movie. Maybe it doesn't need it. But like, for example, like that relationship, but especially with the actual toy, I would have loved to have seen in this movie, I don't know what it is, but something that's like this emotional drive of why he needs to get this for his kid. Not just because when we get to it, and we're kind of jumping around right now, but basically when we set up the premise of his son, Jamie, wants this toy, the Turbo Man doll. And he says, if I don't have it, I'm going to be the laughing stock in my school. And his dad, Arnold, says, well, then that's not going to happen. I'm going to get it for you. And there's more to it. I guess you could unpack, you know, it's the idea of just being there for him. But it feels we joke about this movie being very cynical and like leaning into that like corporate America, commercialized Christmas, capitalism is the enemy kind of thing. And they don't really sidestep it. They don't try to, they're like, yeah, that's what this is. There's really nothing else to it. And I think that's the thing that I find most difficult to swallow in this movie is that it's so unapologetically cynical. It's like, no, we got nothing else.
I really think it's just a product of the time, though. Like, I do think that there was this belief that you could fix everything with the bright new shiny object, and that kind of permeated American culture. I mean, like, I grew up in a very middle class family. We did not have a ton of money, but our Christmases were insane. We got Nintendo 64s and like big gifts for Christmas because my parents would go into debt to buy us stuff so they would seem like good parents. Like,
same. My mom loved Kmart layaway.
Right. Like we would have great Christmases and get some of the best gifts out of all of our friends, but we got kicked out of rent houses all the time. So it's like, you know, I do believe there was this kind of idealism of materialism in 90s America, where if you wanted to be a good parent or grandparent or whatever, you could buy your way into it. People believed that. I think.
That's a great point. This movie is like the opposite, the polar opposite of American Beauty, where like American Beauty starts off like that, where it's like, this is what you need to be a 90s like person, 90s American.
But then it's just a couch, you know, so.
Just a couch.
Just a couch.
Yeah. That scene's so good. Oh my God.
It's great.
We'll get into it, but even like Sinbad's scene in the diner where he's talking about his toy machine gun that he never got, that all he wanted was that.
Well, this also... that plays into what I was talking about Arnold not being the worst dad, because we'll get to it. We'll get to it. But he is trying to work for his family. He's not, I don't know. I think the kids are the enemies in this movie. Their expectations and the grudges that they hold without understanding how difficult life really is.
Their fucking parents.
Or corporate, or the commercials they're watching on shows like Turbo Man.
Yeah, because their parents aren't around to tell them not to fucking watch it.
Because they're working so that they can get the things that they want. Yeah, because dad's only showing that work's important, not family. And then he gets upset because he's afraid that his son is going to turn out like Myron, who's just a mailman. Like, who has a great job, though.
Yeah. The mailmen are very important.
Yeah. So, fuck you, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Don't get mad at me, Casey. I believe the United States Postal Service and its mail carriers are very important.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Let's head to the Langston household on Christmas Eve to meet our monster in Jingle All the Way.
Yes.
Is that Jingle All the Way? No.
You're my number one customer.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. So, okay. You know, Danny, to your point about how he's not the worst dad ever.
I didn't say he was the worst dad ever. Okay. I said he's a bad dad.
A bad dad. Okay. The movie sets it up trying to make him look more bad than he actually is.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Liz says at the beginning, like, Jamie is watching this like Power Rangers style Turbo Man show. And I think she's talking to Phil Hartman's character, Ted. She's talking to Ted. Where's your mother? Oh, she's next door petting Ted.
It's so good.
Anyways, she's talking to Ted, and she's like, you know, he's probably at the office and he's working really hard. And then it cuts to like a Die Hard style office Christmas party with like champagne and everybody having fun. And you think, he's not. He's at a party on Christmas, but he is in the office.
He's working
hard. Like that's all he's doing is working. And so they kind of set it up to like, they make that juxtaposition between like, oh, he's probably working really hard, and then cut right to a party scene. So you're like, that son of a bitch. And then he is in the office, like,
and I would argue he wouldn't
so
be
hard
working
that he thinks
so hard were it not for, why are all these warehouses calling so late? Where are they located? Who is he shipping to? Like, that's the real like issue I want to dig into is like, what is this job that he has? Like, I doubt it's a front because, oh no, maybe it is a front because he seems kind of like nonplussed later when he goes into that little Santa crime syndicate and he's like, okay, nothing weird yet. Let's get this
No,
going.
Danny, he's a good dad. He wouldn't do that.
No. Yeah. Oh, Casey's going to be at my throat for this. See, Jingle All the Way is like, it's like the father we've never had.
I don't want him.
I have a pretty good relationship with my dad and this does feel a little bit like some 90s childhood shit that happened to me.
Well, good. He patched it up.
Yeah. He got me Turbo Man and everything was fine.
Yeah. It doesn't matter after that.
Yeah.
he was in the Wintertainment Parade.
He was Turbo Man.
Yeah. Right.
Oh my God, this movie. I'm like forgetting because we watched this we had a little delay in our recording. And I'm like, oh yeah,
bonkers.
I forgot about that.
It is bonkers.
It is.
Bonkers. Yep.
For like a week since we watched this movie, like all week long, I've been saying, I got a Turbo Man for Johnny months ago. It's nestled safely under our tree. I just keep saying
stuck in your head.
I don't know why. Yeah.
It's just his voice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so bad dad number one, bad dad task number one. Howard misses Jamie's karate
Christmas karate recital.
His belt.
Whatever that was. That was not how karate is set up at all, but it's fine.
No. They clearly were like, high school gym, we're going to do karate in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Karate only happens in like weird strip centers, you know? Like, that's the only place.
In a dojo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Next to Starbucks and the Olive Garden.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
But this is where we start to get, I think, a little bit of a monster reveal. This is a horror movie podcast, by the way. Part of our monster starts to be revealed when, you know, consumerism will start to rear its ugly head because Howard thinks that he can make up for missing Jamie's karate, for missing this like big moment in Jamie's life. He thinks he can make up for it by just buying him out whatever he wants. He's like, whatever you want, name it, we'll get it. And like, whatever. And then Jamie goes into his whole speech. I want the Turbo Man action figure with the blah, 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 blah. And then they start laughing and Howard comes downstairs and he's talking to Linda. Linda?
I don't remember her character name, but
who? Rita Wilson? Liz.
Rita Wilson?
Liz.
Oh, yeah. Howard, these cookies. Sorry. And he's talking to Liz and he's like, He's like, you should have seen it. We were bonding. We were having a fun time. It was so great.
I love how you're slightly slipping in the Arnold. It's just a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, was I?
Yeah.
I didn't even notice. Because I actually am Arnold doing a Zach impression.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's all happy about, bonding and having a good time. And then she was like, did you get him the Turbo Man? And he was like, what? He's like, he didn't even know what she was talking about. He's like, oh, I'll buy you whatever you want. And now we're happy and things are good. So it really wasn't about like what Jamie wanted. It was kind of just like,
he could have written him a check right there. And that
exactly.
would have, in his mind, solved every problem.
Right. But this is what kind of sets up the story was like, great. Yeah, you got the doll. Yeah, I got it. And she's like, good, because now it would be impossible to find.
Yeah.
And now you're like, okay, here's the story. Let's take it from here.
Okay, bad dad number 2. He's lying
to his wife too.
Lying.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bad
That's
dad
the
and
thing.
bad husband.
That's the thing. On the surface, I feel like the intention is coming from a good place. It just
doesn't
brings out the
matter.
worst
You
in
don't
everyone.
lie. You do
I
not
don't mean
lie.
that. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying the lying part. I'm just saying the intention of trying to fix this problem is good, but they come at it. Everyone comes at it from all the worst ways, and it just brings out the worst in them. So like the lying and the cheating and the blowing up radio stations.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not good.
Getting this material item for his son was worth so much to him that he risked going to fucking prison for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Because of all
He
the
should have
crimes he
taken him
committed.
to his office and been like, you do my job. You see how fucking hard it is.
The list of crimes is pretty impressive. It would be like aggravated assault, like attacking a police officer, impersonating a police officer, blowing up a radio station, domestic terrorism, speeding. Like it's just a crazy list of. You could probably get him on racketeering somehow.
So he's a lot like, Jim Carrey's character in Liar Liar. And he admits that he's a bad dad because he can't lie. So,
oh, yeah.
It's a 90s dad. 90s comedy dad.
19, I think the same year.
97? No, a year later.
A year later, a couple years later,
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about these? I think there's probably a couple other movies that do this. About us just ignoring Arnold's accent and muscles and making him just like a generic dad that Tim Allen could have played or something in the 90s.
What does Phil Hartman say? He says, you can't bench press your way out of this one.
That's the only line in the movie that references his muscles. Yeah,
that's so fun. Well, that's a good question, Ben, because I always wonder that about in Arnold movies. Like, it's that suspension of disbelief. And is that something that we subconsciously kind of overlook because we grew up with him and it's been normalized? Like, do like older generations or maybe even younger generations look at that and think that's so bizarre?
I don't think it's completely impossible for a muscular Austrian man to
of course
be it,
Yeah.
But it's, you notice it. He's an outlier.
I don't. It's when I watched True Lies in the last year and of struggled with some of that, and that's even harder to believe, I think, in my
they can't
opinion,
believe
because
he's this guy.
Because he's playing a spy who is like supposed to be this very boring man, and it's like, oh, what, the guy with all the biceps and the Austrian accent is a spy? Holy shit, can't believe that.
He's like not under the radar at all.
Come on.
Which is funny because in True Lies I feel like you could get away with that if there was just one line of like, you'd think he'd be this, super spy, and then it's like a wink wink.
And there probably is that line. Like, I don't remember it, but it's that movie is such a smart satire about that genre that I think that probably exists. And I can't imagine James Cameron didn't think of that, but I don't think that the Warner Brothers executives who made Jingle All the Way gave a flying fuck about that.
The committee that made this movie.
Yeah. I don't know. It's something that I think about every time I watch an Arnold movie where he's supposed to be playing a rather mundane character. So I just wanted to see what you guys thought about that.
I think it's the charm. I find Arnold Schwarzenegger very charming when he just talks. So maybe that is it's just easy to get through that barrier because of that.
Thank you very much, Danny boy.
So we get our first very in-your-face consumerism reveal when Howard gets to the toy store and it is not open yet. And it is a very, it's the very stereotypical everyone pushing to open the door, and then they open the doors and everyone gets trampled. And but that's like what used to happen.
Yeah.
Remember, there used to be like fights at Walmart and like people would get assaulted and throw things at each other.
So gross.
People died, I think. Like that was like a real, that's not just in movies. I think that really happened. Like, right.
Thank goodness
like, people
for
got
Amazon.
Trampled.
I was literally going to say, I was like, this is the first time I would say, like, thank God for technology.
Yeah.
Because it really
being
did.
able to just order online. Yeah, I worked retail for a long time on Black Friday. And in Orlando, I worked at Movie Stop and we opened at 3 a.m. And it was like an outdoor plaza. And so there were just people everywhere. It was.
Did you ever deal with anything like any violence or aggression, or was it just?
No, I mean aggression. Just because everybody was just aggressive in general, most people, because you're not going to get anything if you're not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
In that sense, but it was fucking weird. It was wild.
I also worked retail. I worked Barnes and Noble in a mall in high school, and Black Friday was rough.
It was. Those fucking book nerds, you know?
Yeah. The new Tchaikovsky.
Yeah.
Well, the store on Black Friday would just be like a disaster because everyone would go to the mall to buy all this other shit. Then they'd come in and pick up 6 books and move them around. And so
people
we would close. We'd close when the mall closes, which was, I think, 10 and then 11 at the holidays. And we wouldn't leave till 3:30 in the morning because we had so many books.
Just
to
get
cover.
everything back in order.
People are assholes. I hate that
Awful.
shit. My friend Stacy, I worked in retail for a long time. If I'm at a store and I don't want something, I don't care if I'm all the way at the other end of the store when I decide that I don't want it. I will take it all the way back to where it belongs and put it back. And my friend Stacy is always like, "Why do you do that?" And I'm like, "Because I know how annoyed someone's going to get when they find something from the freezer section back here in the shoes." Like,
Everyone needs to work in retail at some point.
Yes.
Speaking of retail, the timing of this worked out really well. I was just going to say, it's like as we meet the monster, because this movie came out in 96, the script was originally written about Cabbage Patch Dolls, but then Tickle Me Elmo came out the same year that this movie came out. And so there really was that craze where people were getting assaulted about Tickle Me Elmos. So it's one of those weird idiosyncratic things that society timed up with this perfectly.
Yeah.
I think people forget
Tickle Me
how
Elmo.
intense that was.
Forgot about that.
It's not even that cool.
Not
even for a kid.
She's like, "Look at mine. It's not even fun anymore."
Yeah, it's not even cool.
Yeah,
whatever.
I can see like Cabbage Patch Kids because it's this unique, each doll, it's not like every doll is different, but there is like this unique identity to them that you want this version of this thing so it feels a little more unique and rare.
There's
but
like
the Tickle Me Elmo was
stuff.
such like Sesame Street is so targeted to a young audience that no kid that age would need something that desperately to warrant
It was all
the
the
response.
parents.
It was all the parents. Weird.
Yeah.
It must have been because I'm trying to think before Tickle Me Elmo, was there, aside from something like Teddy Ruxpin, was there another doll that sort of responded to like a physical action? You know, like maybe they were just
I think a couple of years later was Furby.
Oh, that was later.
That was like, I think a couple of years later. Yeah.
Okay.
I can do
So
a
maybe
really
that
good
was just-
Furby voice.
Oh, God. Wait, Furbies talk?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Do.
Boogie.
Yeah.
Fluffy.
Oh God.
Boogie.
I'm
Boogie
gonna
dance.
I'm gonna say good job on that, but I didn't
Look
know
it
they
up.
talked, so I can't.
Yeah, maybe it must have been just like that fascination with, because even Turbo Man is similar. It's like new technology. It's especially for like the time of like, wow, look how far we've come with.
Look at
toys.
us now.
Yeah, we can tickle.
Pretty
our
soon we're going to be living in
dolls.
Terminator 2. Like,
First Tickle Me Elmo, now Skynet.
we start with him missing this karate thing, and I thought for sure there was going to be a callback to that, like Jake Lloyd was going to become one of the like 3 ninjas or something like that at the end of the movie, and that never happens. He doesn't.
Yeah.
Anyway, I literally never even considered that. You would think at the end of the movie he would do like a karate chop on the guy,
right? Yeah, especially because like
what was the point of karate?
Oh my god,
those movies are like in the 90s we loved ninja shit. Like we had the 3 Little Ninjas, we had the Karate Kid, we had like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So what the fuck? Why aren't you like using your moves, Anakin? You know,
there could have been a whole subplot to tie in what you were saying too about it being Arnold Schwarzenegger being this bodybuilder. You could have had a kid who maybe instead of holding a grudge against his dad could have felt like inferior to his dad. So he's like trying to do karate. He wants to be Turbo Man. There could have been something there, this emotional drive for then Arnold later to realize that he's just feeding into his kid's insecurity. There's like something there, but it's all just like, we're going to throw this. Oh, where's that going? Nowhere. It's like the opposite of Chekhov's gun. Like we're going to put things there only for it to be not remembered, forgotten. Oh God, this movie.
Well, yeah. So and then when they get into the toy store, this fucking bouncy ball numbering system fucking infuriated me, because I understand that they wanted to like make this a thing of him like running through the mall and all that shit, but like, come on.
That's the second toy store, though.
Come on. Oh, is it?
This movie's scrambling.
The first toy store, you get young Chris Parnell.
See, I was thinking that was the second one.
He's so funny.
Yeah, I love him.
And you also get Arnold being able to very accurately drive a remote control car around corners
shelves
without seeing.
Yeah,
that's right.
Around other shelves, and he can very cleverly maneuver it to trip Myron.
There's nothing that is impossible, Zachary. If you want to drive your car around corners you can see, then put your mind to it.
Is he the character from True Lies? Is that just him? Like he's mastered.
I mean, he could be an
and
amalgamation of like all of the characters that's played. You know, we've got Total Recall and Running Man and all of these sci-fi things where he's got, you know, extra abilities.
Yeah.
What's his name in True Lies?
Oh, I was going to say Howard. That's his name here.
Zach wants it to be Howard.
His name is Harry. His name is Harry.
And what is Harry but a shorter Howard?
It is just as close as the name Zach is to the name Howard.
Howie.
So
is it time?
Oh my God.
Is it time? As Casey leaves, as Casey signs off.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is playing the same character in all of his movies.
Awesome. Done.
Moving on. Casey, you're welcome.
Thank you.
But after this first toy store, we get the montage of him driving all over town, looking in every store. And this is a very long day, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Daytime in this world is, do they live in Alaska?
Yeah.
Do we know where they live?
Yes.
They live in Minnesota because of the Mall of America.
The Mall of America.
Minnesota, Alaska.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he leaves in the morning to go find this Turbo Man doll. There's the Wintertainment Parade, which is happening. And all of this stuff happens.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because the parade would have to be during daylight. So it would have to start at like 2, 3.
Yeah.
That's such a
latest.
good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This whole movie takes place between 10 and 2.
Yeah. They even show like hours on a clock just like going by in like part of the montage.
That was the seconds hand. It wasn't the minutes.
This is where Ted bakes the cookies.
And what does Arnold want him to do with that cookie?
Put that cookie down now. So yeah, the kids are in the living room playing Turbo Man, and Ted comes in, and he's like telling Liz he's gonna take over. He's like, go take a shower, like relax, and he like puts his arms around Liz to like untie her apron. And you see like the look on his face where his like eyes kind of like roll back in his head. Like, he's like
it's very, this reminds me of our last little triple feature that we did was the Folk Around and Find Out. This reminds me of the relationship between Jeffrey and Harper in Men.
Yeah.
Where it's
or
this
the
guy
vicar.
sort of, or the vicar. Yeah. Or I guess the Green Man.
Any of them.
Oh my God. The Green Man and Santa is like the red. Well, he's not the Red Man. That's a rapper. But the man in the red suit. There's something there is what I'm trying to say.
He's
I'm not
a
going to go as far as to say that this is a conspiracy theory of the week, but I will go so as far as to say that if we were to investigate further, we might find a more concrete connection between the Alex Garland's folk horror movie Men and Jingle All the Way.
Yeah, I think
And I
that
will
if
leave
we
it at that.
explore any two movies, you can find a lot.
Yeah,
With your imagination,
If you come
you
at
know?
it the way Zach and I just casually find theories and everything. Although there are no theories and there's never a conspiracy.
no.
We make it happen. We don't know what conspiracy means, so we just apply that to everything.
Yeah.
So Howard has traveled all around town looking for this doll. He talks to Ted on the phone.
Which I would say
when
is
he hangs up.
Ted, and I'm sorry to cut you off, Zach. I just wanted to flag this first. That's really the first time we established that Ted kind of is also kind of one of the monsters in this movie. We kind of see him. He's kind of being like a little bit sleazy-ish, but not really. I would even argue when he's putting up the Christmas lights earlier, that just seems like a nice thing to do for someone.
Yeah, just being a nice guy.
Howard is actually in the wrong for that. If someone did my Christmas lights, I'd be like, thank you. But this is when he gets kind of nasty.
If you came home and you're...
If Phil Hartman was putting on my Christmas lights.
I agree with Danny. If I came home and my neighbor was putting up my Christmas lights, cool.
Oh,
the only thing that I think warrants
not because it's like I need to put up my own Christmas decorations, but because like you're get out of my fucking house. Like what are you doing?
But his wife obviously let him, so it's not like he's just
the only problem there. I would say
I think she did because
he did it on the 23rd of December, which seems like an odd choice. But
why did Phil Hartman have to do it on the 23rd? Because Arnold wouldn't fucking do it before then.
Yeah, he's probably looking out his window like, this motherfucker. Like,
that's fucking right.
Yeah. The homeowners association was probably going to flag him for something, so Arnold was going to have to pay a fine. So Ted was just looking out for him.
That's the real fucking monster right there. The homeowners association.
The HOA.
Jesus Christ.
More like ho ho ho, more like ho a, because there's an A at the end of HOA. You get what I'm saying?
Oh boy. God. Oh boy. What happens next? Save us. Yeah.
Howard runs into Myron. Like, out of all the places he could have stopped to use the payphone, and Myron's right there, seems a little fishy.
Myron's up to something.
But they find out that there is a new shipment of Turbo Man action figures at the Mall of America. And so they rush off to go find him. But this is where Howard hits the cop's motorcycle, and it's the same cop that pulled him over at the beginning for speeding to his kid's karate class.
Right.
But now, Casey, when we get to the Mall of America, this is where the bouncy ball lottery comes in.
Yeah. Probably one of it. It's infuriating. That's not practical. Nobody would do that. Come on.
Right.
Yeah.
They just give you numbers on paper.
Yeah, I don't even understand it.
Well, and you get consumerism showing its ugly head again, where the guy's like, due to the fucking demand for all this product, like the list price on every Turbo Man just went up like 20% or something. I don't know. I
think he said doubled.
Double. Oh yeah, the price just doubled.
Yeah.
Jesus.
There's that old
greedy bitches.
That old screenwriting adage that Act 2 is where movies go to die, and this is absolutely true about this film. And this is the start of it.
Sure.
Basically, Act 2 basically starts as soon as we have him going to start looking for Turbo Man, And once this whole bouncy ball sequence happens, it is absurd thing that makes no sense after absurd thing that makes no sense. After absurd thing that makes no sense. With no motivation whatsoever. There is
until the very end.
There is a bouncy ball sequence that is a 5-minute thing where we follow the same bouncy ball around the entire Mall of America. There is a Santa crime syndicate. There is a bomb at a radio station. There is a car that doesn't have a frame on it anymore. There is it's just fucking insane. It's so stupid and nothing works. And when you say it all out loud, you're like, what? I'm gonna try to take a stab at it. All right,
please.
In 2 minutes. So here we go. Jingle all the way in 2 minutes. We open up on Arnold. He's at a Christmas party. He's neglecting his family. He's trying to get there to his kid's karate thing, but he's working. He gets a speeding ticket. Cop pulls him over. He misses his kid's karate thing. He's sad. Tries to make it up to his kid, played by Jake Lloyd. Jake Lloyd is kind of giving him the cold shoulder. Then Jake Lloyd's like, if you want to make it up to me, Dad, you can give me a Turbo Man doll because otherwise I'll be a dork. And Arnold's like, okay, sure, I'll go get you a Turbo Man. Rita Wilson's like, I told you to get him that Turbo Man thing weeks ago. Did you get it? He's like, oh yeah, of course. No, he didn't fucking get it. So then the next day, it's Christmas Eve. He goes out to the toy stores. They're all booked everywhere. He runs into Sinbad, who's also trying to get his son a Turbo Man doll because he's a shitty father too. Go to all these toy stores. There's a lottery at the Mall of America where all these ping pong balls are flying all over the place. He can't get it. He misses getting Turbo Man again. He's sad. He's dejected. He walks by Santa. He tells Santa hey, I'm trying to get my kid Turbo Man. Santa's creepy Jim Belushi. He's like, hey, I can get you a Turbo Man. He followed Jim Belushi back to this warehouse full of Santas where they're all selling all these illegal toys. Arnold looks like a cop, so they get into this fight. The real cops show up. They bust everyone, but Arnold acts like a cop and gets out of it. Then he hears on the radio at the diner that they are selling, where he runs into Sinbad again, that they are giving away a Turbo Man doll. So he and Sinbad get into another fight. They rush to the radio station where Sinbad pulls out a fake bomb from his mailbag, says that he's going to blow up everything. He doesn't blow up everything. They don't have the Turbo Man doll there, but the radio guy calls the cops. The cops come. Sinbad then pulls up another bomb. This time the bomb does go off. Arnold escapes. He gets home. It's the kind of second act, point of no despair. He can't get the fucking Turbo Man doll. But Phil Hartman, who's been hitting on Rita Wilson the whole time, said earlier, I've got it under the tree. So he gets back. He's like, I got to do whatever I can to get this Turbo Man doll. He breaks into Phil Hartman's house, burns it down. He's the real shitty father. Dejected as all get out. He's missing this parade. He somehow ends up in the Turbo Man suit. Sinbad also ends up in the villain's suit. He saves the day, gives Jake Lloyd a Turbo Man, and that's the movie.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you. I feel like you saved us so much just emotional turmoil of trying to get through this.
But you know who I don't think we're giving enough credit to in this movie?
No one.
Sinbad.
He does a great job.
Do you mean for his performance or?
He's funny.
Sinbad.
He's funny.
I would argue that both of them. I think Sinbad and Arnold are actually very funny in this movie. There were moments where I laughed out loud. I think they both committed, but Sinbad is very funny.
The part
they did that, yeah.
The part was originally supposed to go to Danny DeVito, but they didn't want to cast him against Arnold. I don't know why, because he had already been cast against Arnold so many times.
In Junior.
Junior
and
Twins.
In Twins. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So not sure why that didn't work. Yeah. They wanted someone the same size as Arnold, is what I read. So
yeah,
well,
just enough. Which is why it got into Sinbad.
No offense to Danny DeVito, but they could have played into the elf.
Yeah.
Bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but
I don't know how, but
even if they didn't, and it was all the same thing, imagine Danny DeVito wearing that suit of the villain at the end. That's way too big for him. How fucking funny would that be?
Yeah, I think that's why they wanted that, was because they knew that there would be a fight scene at the end, and they wanted So they wanted to tap into the, I'm not saying this is right, I'm just trying to act like the studio head. I think they're like, we want to tap into Arnold's action bullshit and have something that feels like somewhat of an Arnold action movie fight sequence at the end. So we need someone who could look imposing in that suit.
Yeah. So they're
Wrong
like, we'll
movie
do
to
all
try
of
to do
this.
any of that in, but
Yeah. We'll do all of this absolutely ridiculous batshit stuff that makes absolutely no sense. But you know what? He's got to actually fit in the costume at the end. So.
Well, what's funny about the costume and the villain is they do so much setup for how much everyone hates Turbo Man's sidekick Booster. And in the movie, Sinbad's character is sort of sidekickish to Arnold's character.
Kickish?
So it would have been funnier if you
he's
found
the
out that
villain.
he was in the Booster costume, and then you could have had I don't know. I just feel like nothing paid off in this movie.
You'd have to lose the great cameo from Curtis Armstrong, a.k.a. Booger from Revenge of the Nerds.
Why is he there? We don't know. Why is the voice actor on the show in the parade? Who knows?
I don't think Booster was hated. He just wasn't cared about.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't
didn't
know.
care about him.
It seemed like they hated him. No one wanted that toy. Everyone was like,
Well,
But it's because everybody wanted Turbo Man.
they do hate him, and that's part of my real monster, which we'll get to later.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys caught a certain thing that was in this movie, but it's fucking ridiculous.
Guess we'll see.
Okay.
But yeah, Booster is, needless to say, people do not like Booster.
Okay. I don't get what is so bad about Sinbad's life in this movie. He's got a great job. Has a family. He seems to have his values, at least aware of his values. Maybe. Wait, guys, is Myron real? Is he like the ghost of Christmas past? Like he shows up wherever Arnold is. He kind of like brings all of the conflicts to surface, forces Arnold to deal with the situation. And then we end on this finale that breaks all rules of reality. These things just do not exist.
Yeah, but I also don't think that you can argue with the fact that Myron abducted the child.
To teach him a lesson.
Myron is definitely real because Jake Lloyd gives him the Turbo Man doll at the end of the movie. And but if Jake Lloyd can see him, then...
But if he was like the ghost or demon of, maybe he's like Krampus or something, maybe a minion of Krampus. And it's like, I'm going to push you to like your furthest lengths, like to see how far you will go to find the true meaning of Christmas. And maybe it was that moment of like, Jamie better give me that toy in the end. And if he doesn't, God knows what's going to happen to this family. So like he needed to relinquish this, the golden cow, so to speak, in order to show
we know what happens to Jake Lloyd if he doesn't grow up under perfect circumstances. So,
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
My real monsters is coming up, and I have some things to say about that.
Well, maybe like Jamie's character was so like neglected by his dad that he like kind of fucking like broke mentally. Right?
Yeah. so are we seeing
just thinking
like,
his dad neglected him?
like it is him, but like when you like look at you're seeing Jamie, and then like the fucking you see it from like Rita Wilson's point of view, and like Jamie's just like holding the fucking Turbo Man up to like nothing. And they're like, what the fuck is Jamie doing?
So they're not
over
even
there?
at the winter parade. He's just hallucinating it.
Yeah.
It makes
Anyways.
more sense, again, than the budget that the winter parade had for that jetpack.
Yeah.
Or the means to that technology.
the diner scene, though, does bring up like something that I thought it's sandwiched between moments that made me feel very uncomfortable as an audience member in 2024 watching this movie. One is the bombing that just happens in the next scene. The other is the constant use of the Rodney King riots.
Oh my God, yeah.
Which like is used as like comedic effect by Sinbad throughout the movie.
And a reference that all children will understand.
Yeah.
Right. I also read that Sinbad improvised most of the movie, so who knows if that was in the script or if that was him. Yeah. But regardless, they thought it was funny enough to use it multiple times. And it's just so odd and such a like product of how out of touch and how white civilization like American bullshit was in the 90s that we made a joke about a bombing like 2 years after the Oklahoma City bombing. And also kept using Rodney King like riots as jokes in this big family comedy. Like both of those things really just like, I was like, holy shit, what are we doing here?
There is a soulless, tasteless quality kind of like, that's like the through line for this movie. But it especially just kind of gets like amped up in moments like that. It's like, it's the lack of awareness. It's like, we're just going to do this because maybe it'll get a laugh. Maybe it won't, but that's fine. We'll just throw everything at this movie. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. Obviously doesn't. That's so unnecessary.
Right.
Yeah. It's really, it's a bummer because it's not like this movie didn't have a template to base its themes and story off of, because it is a Christmas family movie. There have been many Christmas family movies. You do not have to change the game. You don't have to rewrite it. You know, even if you want to add in like the action elements, and they took so many deviations in all of the worst ways, in the most tasteless ways, that it's really hard to, I mean, we were talking earlier about the nostalgia thing, but yeah, you know, like when we do talk about it, it does make it sours the movie. It kind of brings all of the negative aspects to light to such a point that it kind of bypasses the nostalgia. And you're like, wait, this is really gross, this movie. Like, I don't know if I like it at all. I don't know if I can defend it even from that perspective.
Well, we've talked about it a lot, but I think you really miss like, and it makes sense why Fox thought they had a home run, because they had Arnold. Chris Columbus was producing it, who directed both the first two Home Alone movies. It's a holiday movie, but what they were missing was like, what makes those Home Alone movies great is John Hughes' screenplay. And it's very sweet. It's very caring. It is very funny, but it makes sense. At least it gives you one suspension of disbelief that you have to buy into at the very beginning of the movie, and everything else is Christmas fun time. But we're not doing anything. We're not blowing up radio stations.
No.
So
it's simple. Even when it gets crazy, it's still bound by reality.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to bring up something else that doesn't make any sense. That bomb went off and didn't even hurt anybody.
It did a cartoon.
It's very Looney Tunes.
Yeah, Looney Tunes. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
I think he literally takes his glasses off, and then there's like he has like no soot
and
where his glasses were
falls on his head.
Yeah.
So after the radio station blows up, essentially, Howard goes and basically burns a good portion of Ted's house down, and fights a reindeer.
Oh yeah,
and tries to steal a gift.
Cold cocks a reindeer in the face and then gets it drunk later.
He does punch a reindeer, which is pretty badass, I will say.
But the fact that the reindeer was, again, it's like, what is this? Reindeers are supposed to be this like symbol of Christmas and love and happiness, and I don't get what they're trying to go for. Obviously, it's for a laugh, but like when a kid's watching this and you're like, oh, are we okay? Reindeer enemy, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Christmas hero. Got it. Okay, now I know.
Yeah,
it's just so crazy.
But like he punches an animal.
Yeah.
He abuses an animal.
Oh yeah, animal abuse. We can add that to the list.
And then like blames the animal for starting it. It's like you started it.
Yeah.
The reason that he went into that place in the first place is to fucking steal that kid's presents.
Yeah. A child's Christmas present.
Because he is a shitty dad
who just recently lost his mother.
Who didn't?
Because they set that up too for Ted.
Yeah.
So it's actually like a really kind of sad little. This is probably their first Christmas together.
Because Howard's a
just the
shitty
two
dad
of them.
who didn't buy his own kid gifts, so he's gonna go try to fucking steal somebody else's.
Oh God, Howard.
Casey said I was sorry.
I was trying to defend you. Good Lord.
But Howard shares a 6-pack with the reindeer, and then heads to the wintertainment parade because he knows he needs to fix things. He needs to be a cadet. But here we finally get Ted trying to culminate the relationship with Liz. Is that
it's just
culminate.
he's You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's trying to fuck her.
Yeah. He's being kind of rapey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Culminating.
Consummating.
And then, but Rita holds her own. Liz holds her own. She smacks him with the eggnog.
She does.
There were several parts in this movie, and this was one of them, the eggnog smack thing, where so much happens and so much happens so fast that I had to rewind it and watch it again to be like, wait, where are we and what happened?
Yeah.
Like, and that was one of those because Arnold's like trying to run there in a cab while like Rita Wilson is being hit on by our boy Phil Hartman, and then it's like
it is keep going back and forth.
Yeah, it's really strange.
Yeah.
But
Ted should have been the one who dressed up as Dementor because he was the one kind of competing with him.
Yeah,
that would make sense.
It would have been better to have Ted as the Dementor and then have Sinbad as the what's his name,
Booster,
the furry guy.
Yeah,
Booster. Yeah,
tie everything up. Oh, I just don't understand it.
It was too late for that anyway. Let's be honest. Even if they did that, it wouldn't have saved the movie.
No way.
It would have only helped our podcast episode on the movie. That is the purpose it would have served.
Well, I didn't understand how Howard gets mistaken for this actor playing Turbo Man, right? And then, I mean, I understand that completely. But this whole team of costumers are dressing him in this suit. He's at the Wintertainment Parade. He sees Booster, who he's seen before in the toy store, like in the toy.
Who was going to be Gilbert Gottfried, but he had to back out at the last second.
No.
Yeah.
That would have been funny.
Yeah.
Anyway. I am a fan of Curtis Armstrong, though, so I can't be too mad about that.
Well,
sure.
I don't even know who he is. But then
he doesn't realize that he's Turbo Man until he comes up onto the float and he hears the announcers say, "It's Turbo Man." And then he like looks around and he's like,
well,
in a movie with so much physical violence, they could have easily bypassed that because that's like, again, suspension of disbelief where it's have him like bonk his head on something and he's kind of like dizzy and doesn't realize where he is.
He's kind of an idiot.
Yeah.
He just broke into Ted's house, set it on fire, punched a reindeer, tried to steal presents. I mean,
maybe he truly did not know where he was. He somehow
left his car somewhere where it got fucking stripped within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, he's not a smart guy.
Yeah.
No,
he doesn't even know how to
really
wear a karate belt.
He doesn't know anything. What does he do right in this movie? Not a single fucking thing.
Yeah.
Casey, feel like you're being very hard on me. Give me a break. It's Christmas.
This is really, it truly is. Casey, I think you're right. Like this whole bit of how he gets into the suit is just, it's absurd. It's maybe the worst part of the movie. Like, honestly, it's the biggest ask and it comes like 15 minutes away from the end, which is just so bad.
Because it's the part where you're yelling at the TV, like, say that you are not this guy.
Or have it voluntary.
You are not this guy.
What if you had Arnold want to be Turbo Man? Just have him like grab the actor and hide him and then make it more of like he's trying because he's playing, he
accidentally saves the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been such an active kind of participant in like the chaos that's happening. You would think he would be like, fuck this.
That would be part of his redemption arc.
Yeah, like I'm doing this. Yeah. Instead of it being accidental.
I accidentally stumbled into the suit. How convenient. Now I can selfishly give my child this toy.
Yeah. When he's like so mad, like he yells at Jamie earlier, he's like, I've had it up to here with this Turbo Man. So he's like so pissed. It would make sense that like
you have to
redeem
down.
himself. He would be like, okay, I will. I want to become him to save the day. Yeah.
Right.
Huh. Yeah. It makes so much more sense. And they just, I guess they try to like make it a reveal, like, because they do it in this weird first person camera shot.
Mm-hmm.
That we never see at any other point in the movie.
I will argue though that I think Jamie fucking like takes this situation to a whole other level.
Yeah, he's a dumb kid.
Like he makes the situation so much worse. by running away and climbing up to the top of a building.
Yeah, go to your
And
mom.
not using his karate.
And somehow,
Using karate.
and somehow everybody thought that was part of the choreography.
It could have been.
Right.
Obviously, they wanted the flying around and everything. It could have literally just been a funny gag climax on the float with him, like you said, like doing the karate, hitting the sky with the crowd laughing. And the second you deviate from that and you have Howard literally flying like Iron Man level, like flying around in a costume.
Yeah.
It's Turbo Man.
Why? Like, why? It could have almost been really charming at the end if, Zach, you were talking about how Jamie is like imagining all of this. You could have done something kind of cute where he is imagining this, and you could intercut between like the reality of seeing his dad on there and then this like big chase sequence that is like half in his head of like he's living out his Turbo Man fantasy. So you can still get away with showing these impossible things, but really at the end of the day, just the fact that his dad was there to like save him was enough. I don't know. Maybe that's too much, but it's
too much. Yeah.
It's grounding it a little bit. It's still keeping it within, you know, we have established that he's living in this like Turbo Man fantasy, like obsession. So that's a way to kind of build on that. Yeah. The movie takes me out so much in this. Yeah. The movie's already like just cuckoo, but especially there.
Yeah. Cuckoo bananas.
Cuckoo bananas. Yeah. Wow. I left the cuckoo candy canes.
It's so funny because I actually don't have much of a problem with the ideas that we're playing with here of like, I remember these kind of stunt shows were like big deals in the 90s. Like there was like a Batman stunt show at Six Flags that was like incredible. That as a kid, I was like, this is insane. So the idea of doing this action sequence in a parade with Turbo Man and that like totally checks out. I can see that being a real thing that happened. It's just how we get there and the clunkiness of all of the moments here that like really is strange. And of course the movie doesn't help us before this point, like you were saying, Danny, but it's actually like a pretty, I think for the setup of the movie, which is simple, like trying to be a good dad and get this toy for my kid, for him to become the hero at the end of the movie, get the toy and the son to say, I don't need the toy anymore because I have you. That's all really beautiful and works really nice. But it is just so fucking
There's just too much shit around it.
Yeah. That's such a good point. I just realized Jamie is really the only character who has an arc. What is Howard's arc in this movie? What does he want?
Nothing, because he accidentally stumbled into the Turbo Man fucking costume and...
Yeah, he kind of just wants his kid to be happy. And then by the kid giving up this, like, the kind of thing that represented what Howard thought would give him happiness, he then...
However...
Yeah, it's just... Was such a strange character.
The kid only gives up the doll because he thinks his dad is Turbo Man.
True.
Yeah.
So, Jamie doesn't even have a redemption arc.
Yeah.
Because he's doing it selfishly. Because he's like, I've got Turbo Man. It doesn't matter.
That's true. Yeah. I was thinking of it feeling, and you're going to hate this, Casey, but it feels a little bit like the end of Last Crusade. Where it's like...
That's fine.
Let it go. You know, I don't need the fucking chalice anymore because now we have each other. Indiana, let it go.
That would be like if his dad was dressed up as the Holy Grail, and you're like, I don't need that Holy Grail. I've got the real one at home.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't. It's not the same. I was thinking that kind of most of this conversation. I was like, oh, Last Crusade, and then Casey just ruined that for me.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So that's really Jingle All the Way, you guys. Simple story.
Elegant, clean.
I will say,
great.
I did cry at the end of this movie.
Aww.
You did cry? You cried?
I cried at the end of I cried everything.
Wow. I could, so do I, but I just could not get invested.
No, when like anytime like characters have, I'm literally tearing up right now. I'm very emotional. Anytime you get like a cheap, like, I don't know, anything that like satisfies like a need that a character needs like that. Oh my god, the ending of Home Alone, like
wrecks
I
me,
could
wrecks me
drown
every
in
year.
my tears from that movie.
Yeah.
How much I cried. When his mom shows up. Oof.
Well,
But this movie
we had it
also
playing
got me.
on. We had Home Alone playing on after Thanksgiving dinner this year.
Oh.
Yeah.
And Samuel was watching it, whatever, and it comes on at the end, and his mom comes home, and that's all well and good. But I started to lose it a little bit when he goes and looks out the window and he sees the neighbor guy, the old man, reuniting with his son, and he just kind of looks at him. He's holding his granddaughter, and he looks at him, and I was like, "Oh, here it comes! Here comes the waterworks."
This is the opposite of a testament to Jingle All the Way for the fact that we're resorting to talking about other movies that made us feel good.
Well,
We've
but
talked
I do
about
think
several.
I do think it's important to talk about Home Alone because I do think that that's what Fox thought they were going to get.
Totally.
You can hear it in the soundtrack. You see it with Christopher Columbus, and it's just shows you how fucking good John Hughes was.
Well, we still don't
because he is the missing
understand-
element of this. Like,
yeah, exactly. In Home Alone, it is so simple. He thinks he wants to be alone. He realizes he needs his family and loves them. That's it. It's so simple, and that's why it works. I really genuinely, not trying to be funny, do not understand what the characters want in this movie besides just, oh, you're right, I have been working. I better... Like, if he doesn't get the toy, he doesn't affect the son's life. He gets into a fight with his wife. His son is mad at him. Like, there are things, but they're not emotional drives for a movie like that warrants that kind of story. It's like small scale things, easily fixable, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
What was, I do want to go back to, what was the moment that started you to tear up exactly? Like where?
I think when he realized it was Arnold, I think. And when he points at, that's what it was. When he points at Jamie and Jamie's like, me. I think I just have a lot of childhood trauma. And I wanted it to be Jamie.
Okay.
I think this is just, I don't think the scene was sad. I think my childhood was sad. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm just joking.
No, we were
you see
talking about
they-
like emotional catharsis and not feeling it. But then I was like, okay, but where did it start to, where was it kind of maybe working for you?
When he's like, pick someone, and they turn up the volume, and he's like,
what it was.
Jamie.
And it's just that little sequence of him and then realizing it was his dad. I thought that was just sweet.
I always cry in the part during Mighty Ducks when Charlie goes up to Coach Bombay in the diner and he says, "You made us, and now you're stuck with us." So that's my weird family movie cry moment.
Well, and that's
but also
that's
at the end of
also a
D3.
testament to that's also a testament to Joshua Jackson's acting in that
It's
scene.
true.
He's good.
But
When he's
also at the end
crying and
I think it's D3 when he says,
I don't even remember that one.
Oh, yeah.
he says, "You guys aren't warriors.
Oh, yeah. It's 3.
You guys are ducks," and he brings out all the ducks jerseys.
Oh, I love that. That gets me. I'm like fighting back every
always.
emotion in my body. I'm like,
Yeah. Oh, and then is it the second one or the third one where the older guy dies? Because that part always gets me
That's
too.
the,
Man,
that's the
Ducks
third
movies.
one.
That's the
he
third one
just
too.
passed away this year, I believe.
Speaking of
the actor. I know.
Minnesota-based movies.
Oh.
Yes.
Good catch.
Yeah.
There's our tie in there. No, the D2, the Mighty Ducks, the scene where he's like, where he's giving like the halftime speech and he's like, we are this way because we're from all parts of America. And then everyone's like, oh yeah, when the cows come home, ducks fly together.
And you know what else? Also in the second part, I always cry when the second Bash brother comes back.
Oh,
Yeah, that
yeah.
part always gets me too. Man, Mighty Ducks,
Yeah.
I got to rewatch all those.
Yep.
So,
All right. Well, let's get into the reveals of Jingle All the Way.
What's going on here?
I don't see anything anywhere.
That's how they get you. They're under the goddamn ground.
So this is what we're going to do. We're going to visualize the movie as a dartboard. Now imagine that you're holding a dart and throw this invisible
throw it?
dart, and then just whatever you're picturing in the movie is the monster.
So yeah, the reveals are all over the place in this movie, and it all kind of depends on who the monster is. But we've kind of all as a group agreed that consumerism is the monster. So you've got Howard at the beginning saying that he will get anything Jamie wants to fix the problem. You've got the Black Friday style toy store trampling.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You've got the lottery with the bouncy balls and the guy who wants to jack up the price on the Turbo Man because of supply and demand. You've got...
I mean, even the mob, like smuggling money through kids' toys
right.
at
Yeah, the
Christmas
Santa.
time.
Right.
Yeah,
And
the
the
Santa
mob of
mob.
Santas. Yeah. And I would even say the Wintertainment Parade as a whole is a reveal of a monster because fucking parades.
Yeah. I think I'm just gonna go with the best reveal. Oh,
Well, it's not a horror movie, so
yeah, it's hard to like.
Yeah.
it's not. We're not supposed to be picking out the monsters in this movie like horror movies.
Yeah, I think that's where my brain just is breaking a little bit.
Yeah. We're making this stuff up.
Opening credits. I'm gonna go with the opening credits because that's where we establish.
I agree.
We literally open on
I
a
agree.
commercial. You know what I mean? Like how much more?
Yeah.
If you're having a commentary on commercialization,
Turbo Man
and
commercial.
consumerism, and capitalism, and all that, we open on a commercial.
Boom.
That's it for me. That's my vote.
Perfect. I'm with Danny.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with when Howard says, whatever you want, name it. I'll get it. And I think it'll be better.
Yep, good one.
But I would also like to see Larry Cohen make a version of Jingle All the Way. I think that would have been really good. I'm just thinking about the stuff and all the consumerism that's in that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, great! Great companion piece to this stuff. You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm. The stuff and Jingle All the Way is our double feature recommendation.
Yes, 100%.
Ben, do you have any favorites when it comes to monster reveals wherever this movie in any part of this movie?
I think you named them all. Like those are the big ones that I would think of. Like starting with a commercial, saying I'll buy whatever you need and that'll fix everything. The idea that they in this movie found a way to do a 10-minute set piece in the Mall of America is just
Monstrous.
Thank you, Casey. Yeah, it's monstrous. And that's just where everything starts to unravel too. I think is like I'm like tracking with the movie, and it is wild and weird until that moment, and then everything goes crazy, and
It's too much. Yeah.
yeah. And ironically, it's when the shopping starts. So
Yeah, usually in movies, if they have a mall scene, it's because like, all right, we need to get into a public setting. This movie goes to a mall scene to go shopping. Like it's just to actually do what malls are there for.
in The Mighty Ducks, there is a chase scene through the Mall of America, and it makes sense because they just happen to be neighborhood kids who like skate through the Mall of America.
Yeah.
And this is just so much worse than that.
Yeah. I'm definitely watching Mighty Ducks today.
I love how, if nothing else, this movie encouraged us all to watch Mighty Ducks.
Something good.
Yeah.
Better kid movies.
Oh, yeah. Home Alone, Mighty
Better
Ducks.
children and family movies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now it's time for a segment that we like to call The Real Monster.
Let's do it.
Run, run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man.
You're a monster.
I'm not the monster here. You are. You and the rest of that fairy tale trash poisoning my perfect world. Now tell me, where are the others?
Eat me.
Casey, you go ahead. You're itching.
I couldn't focus enough. I couldn't focus enough to pick.
Okay.
I think I said it earlier, but the real monster to me is the lack of awareness. The mention of the Rodney King riots as a joke, the like bombing sequence after the Oklahoma City bombing, the way they treat Rita Wilson's character as the only woman in this movie basically is all just horrendous and gross. And that to me is the real monster of this movie.
Could not agree more.
All of that.
Yep.
Like lack of awareness.
Yeah.
That's
really grossed me out.
I agree. Yeah, I've got mine. I took a slightly different turn with this. So I'm glad, Ben, that you covered the actual like gross,
the
real monsters. Because mine is, which I mentioned earlier, is Howard for hating on Ted. All of the quote unquote Star Wars fans who completely ruined Jake Lloyd's life, especially seeing him as like this like young innocent kid in this movie, and to know like what they did to him. And it also makes me even more frustrated because, and this isn't to say I'm mad at Hayden Christensen at all, but the fact that he's having this like second life as Anakin right now, and fans are loving him, and Jake Lloyd is still not being mentioned in the conversation. It's just such a bummer. Makes me sad. Jamie's spelling teacher. We don't meet them in this movie, but earlier, how old would you say Jamie is in this movie? 8, 7, 8? Okay.
Well, think about, speaking of Home Alone, Kevin McAllister is 8.
No, he's not.
So probably 8.
He's 8 in that movie. Macaulay Culkin was 10, but Kevin McAllister is 8.
I was like, wow. No, I was just going to say.
And so I think Jamie is a little younger than that.
Okay, then maybe I'm just
like
being
he's
a
like
little too
6 or 7.
Okay, maybe I'm being a little tough on him.
7.
I'm more angry at the teacher.
Sorry. 7 3/4.
Would you? So at that age, would you be able? Is it normal to spell a word like doll?
I would think so.
Yeah. Okay. So earlier in the movie, Arnold says, "I'm going to pick up the DOLL." Jamie has no fucking clue what he's talking about. He just keeps eating his Turbo Man cereal.
I would argue that Arnold's worse because he doesn't even know. First of all, he's treating his kid like a dog by spelling words out.
I'm going on a WALK.
Stop jumping, Jamie. Calm down. I'll get the leash.
Second, what does he even know? He doesn't even know what Jamie's learning in school. Oh, why? Because he's never home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's like, well, he's got to be, what, 3 or 4? He's not going to know what I'm talking about. He's like, I'm 10, Dad.
I know.
Jamie's the one driving him to his office to get the doll. And then my last real monster is Sinbad has that great monologue when we first meet him. And I would argue all the billionaires that he mentions. Because,
oh, yeah.
I mean, that's a conversation for another day, but the world would be a lot different if people weren't fucking billionaires, which is one of the silliest jokes I've ever heard of, and also one of the saddest. But with that, Zach, I pass the torch to you.
Well, speaking of Jamie eating breakfast and how we're leaving to get the DOLL, Jamie's cereal is a real monster. His bowl is fucking like filled with fucking milk. It's filled with milk. He's got like a few pieces of cereal floating in like a whole cereal bowl full of milk. So it's more like soup.
You're so judgmental about how people eat, Zach. You're so judgmental about people's food.
Man, this comes up quite a bit. Zach has very specific expectations when it comes to people eating, especially like snack foods.
Ted's parking job at the parade.
He just parked in the street.
Well, it's like almost. He
just parked in the middle of the street next to barriers.
He was so horny. Right? He was like,
there's like a
even find a sec. My eyes can't see lines anymore.
He pulls like diagonal into a regular standard parking space. I have Howard for hitting an animal.
That's a good
animal abuse. But but the biggest real monster for me, and this is, I said we would come back to this. When the kids at the parade beat up Booster, do you remember them like pushing him off the thing and like they're kicking him and
you're right, I forgot about that.
They're saying nobody likes you, Booster. I don't know how this got
I forgot about all.
I don't know how this got into this movie.
Oh no.
But one of the kids says, "We don't like you, FAG."
Oh.
No.
Really?
Yeah, and I heard it and I went, wait a second. And I rewound it and I listened again and I rewound it and I listened again. And then I was like, that can't be. And the subtitles weren't picking up on it.
Yeah.
But I Googled it and there is like tons of stuff on the internet about how did this line get into this movie?
Yeah.
And
I mean, come on, Disney, just take it out. God.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's still
I was like, oh my
Disney
God.
Plus. It's still.
Well, I watched it on, I don't know. That's a good question because I watched it on DVD.
Oh, I'll double check it.
So that's
I can't
it might
imagine
not
that
be
when Disney bought Fox, that Jingle All the Way was at the top of their remaster list. So.
Yeah, I know.
That is a great point.
You're right. You're right.
Wow. But that's the real monster for me because that's just.
I mean, that word was thrown around
we don't
very
do that.
casually in the 90s. But
Yeah.
even so, like in a kid's movie, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
That's wild. That is truly cuckoo bananas.
It is cuckoo bananas.
Cuckoo
This whole
bananas.
movie is cuckoo
It
bananas.
is.
This is like perfect
That's the
time for you to say
least
cuckoo
oddly
bananas.
cuckoo banana thing in this movie, which is
It's pretty cuckoo
in
bananas.
itself cuckoo bananas.
But that's Jingle All the Way, you guys. We did it. We
Thank God.
we tackled this not wonderful, this
Nostalgic?
very odd, nostalgic Christmas.
It makes me want to
comedy.
just go out and buy things.
Yeah,
I just want to
let's go
purchase. I just
shopping.
want to spend my money.
So this was part one of our 2-part holiday special. So make sure to join us for our next episode, which is also available right now for Rare Exports,
Which I hope is a horror movie. I needed my horror movie fix on this horror movie podcast that we
Yeah.
You did this.
I did do this.
Yeah, you did
I
this.
apologize.
So thank you, Ben, for joining us for this adventure.
Yeah, this is great.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yes. Thank you.
And can you remind listeners where we can see your short Jellyfish Man?
Yes, The Jellyfish Man is a Christmas comedy satire that I guess could pair with Jingle All the Way. That is
It's a palate cleanser for Jingle All the Way.
About annoying neighbors.
Watch Jingle All the Way, listen to this, and then go watch Jellyfish Man, and you're good.
Yeah, it stars Adam Hagenboo from Fuller House. It's on Amaletto on YouTube. And you can also see it at thejellyfishman.com or follow me at this.bendavis on Instagram. And you'll be able to find all of those things.
Highly recommend following him. Ben's the man.
Thanks,
Danny
guys.
and Casey,
Appreciate
where can we find you guys on social media?
I'm on Instagram at wolfmothercasey.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Danny?
and I'm on just a variety of social media things at my name, Danny Salem, DANNYSALEMME. That's 2 M's like the candy, melt in your butt, not in your hand.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And you can find me on social media at Zach Winsick. Make sure to follow the show. Make sure to follow How I Met Your Monster on social media. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, X. I'm always going to call it Twitter just because.
We can blend it,
reasons.
call it Twix.
Twix. Yeah. Find us on Twix. It's a new social media platform. But make sure to join us for part 2 of our holiday special where we will be discussing rare exports. Thank you all for listening. Now go meet some monsters.
And happy trails, EPK motherfuckers.